I'm Edward Warfield. I'm the publisher of City Biz, and I'm honored today to interview Paul Reed Smith, the founder and CEO of PRS Guitars. Welcome, Paul.
Thanks for having me on. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I've been a fan of PRS Guitars and followed your business success over the years, so thanks for joining us today.
A fan of what? A fan of the guitars? A fan of the story? Which part?
I'm a fan of the guitars, the story, your Wikipedia listing, your entire history, starting at Bowie.
Edwin, let me just interrupt you real quick. I never really understood why this business has its, reputation, but really kid in bedroom in Bowie, builds company and makes guitars for the world is kind of the American dream in a way, right? And people got to join in making nothing into something, which I think it's a big deal around here. I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, but it took me a long time to figure out what you're talking about, why it was important to people. It really is the American dream in a weird way.
So if you can't be a rock star, you make guitars for rock stars. So let's.
That's all right. Keep going. Here we go.
Before we get to that, let's talk. You've got a big debut coming up, and tell us about your new band, Eightlock.
The PRS band with two additional members, Juju House, who played in Chuck Brown's band, and Dennis Chambers, who's played in Parliament Funkadelic, Santana, Steely Dan, John Scofield's band, you name it. He's played in so many venues. He's considered one of the best drummers to ever live. The eight of us got together and we changed the name, 8 people that are locked together that you can't break apart. So that's why it's called Eightlock. And when we play at the Rams Head on March 10th, Dennis has got a residual tour that he's going to be on, but we'll all be there with Juju, and we're really looking forward to playing. We played the other day at the Hamilton with Dumpster Funk, which is a New Orleans famous band, and that was fun. And when we do the Rams Head, it's going to be our peeps. It's going to be our people. I can't wait to play.
And tell us about the style of the music.
We're like 295, the Baltimore-Washington Parkway. We connect Baltimore and D.C., but we also have some New Orleans swing that's thrown in as well. There is a kind of music that came specifically from D.C. called go-go. And there's a kind of funk that came from Baltimore that just the remnants of exist. And one of the things we wanted to do was bring some of that Baltimore funk back to music. We didn't want it to just go away. All these musicians of Baltimore are so good that they've been snitched up by other bands around the world. And we wanted to bring that style of groove back into the world stage is what we wanted to do. And it's a big goal, but we're giving it a good shot. Mint Talent, one of the premier booking agents in the country, has taken us on. And we're now talking to a manager. We have a big meeting with him tomorrow. And with the CD's in the can, it's ready to go. There'll be a stick given out to everybody at the event that gives them pre-release copies of these tunes. We're excited to try to bring this Baltimore DC groove to the world.
So I know you're appearing on Rams Head on March 10th. Are there any other bookings that you have lined up now?
Yes, we're playing at the Forum in LA, for 15,000 people. We're playing at the Mint in LA, which is one of the premier clubs there. But almost all the energy, that's April 23rd and 24th, almost all the energy right now is to get this CD out. And I'm going to tell the whole story when we get together at the Rams Head and tell everybody exactly what's going on. There have been a few bands that have made it out of Annapolis, and one of the sayings is you can't make it unless you leave town. So we're trying to leave town so we can come back. Look, the caliber of musicianship in the Baltimore D.C. quarter is extraordinary. We come from the land of the drummers. There's so many good drummers that were taught jazz and funk in this area and go-go that they can play anything, and bass players, guitar players. There's a lot of very, very good musicians come out of this area. And a lot of them were on tour with other people. Also, Mia, the singer, she was in the gospel choir in Baltimore when she was 3 years old and a full-time member at 6 because her mother was a piano player. I mean, she grew up on this. I'd say we're lucky to have this caliber of musicians. I'm pinching myself.
So let's go back to let's go back to the 1970s. You graduated from Bowie High School in 1974, and then you attended St. Mary's College. When did you become interested in guitar making?
Almost day one, really. I always wanted, if I didn't have a piece of gear, I made it because I didn't want to be excluded from the club. If the parents were buying everybody else gear and my parents were buying me gear, I would make it so I could be in the club, PAs, bass cabinets, guitars, you name it. If I didn't have it, I made it because that was the only way I could get it, which is interesting all by itself. I had big ideas. There's two kinds of people in the world. One where they have this talent and they go kicking and screaming into the world going, I don't want to do it. And then the other people, they're screaming, I got something to offer, I got something to offer. And everybody says, hey, you got nothing to offer. No, really, I got something to offer, I'm in group 2. I'm not in group 1. I thought I had something to offer, but that's not the way the world viewed it. And until I left town and Carlos Santana and Howard Leese and Al Di Meola and all these other rock stars started to use my guitars, I was the town's guitar repairman. I like doing it, and I adore the musicians in this area. These people that we live in this Annapolis, D.C., Baltimore corridor, I like them as human beings. They're good people. I really enjoy when I land at BWI, I'm home. I like this area.
So let's talk about Ted Mccarty, who was the former president of Gibson and the creator of the Explorer, the ES335, and Flying V guitars. How did Mccartney become your mentor and advisor? I mean, how did you reach out to him?
What's interesting is I had somebody named Clay Evans sitting next to me, and I was scared to call him. And Clay said, call him. And I went, okay. So I called him, and he picked up the phone, and I hired him as a consultant. I wanted him to travel to see us, and he didn't want to do that. So I went and saw him, and I asked him every single question I could possibly ask about how Gibson did it, and he answered them all. He actually got very angry at one point at the end of the first day. I said, what's wrong? He said, this is how I made my living. You're asking me questions nobody's ever asked me. Nobody asked me how I glued the frets in. Nobody asked me how I did the truss rods. Nobody asked me any of that. They always asked me, how can I get rich quick? Do I have a Les Paul in my basement? Do I have an Explorer in my basement? Do I have a Flying V in my basement? You're only asking me how I made my living. And he says, it's upsetting to me that you're the only one that's come and asked me these questions. In the end, I made a deal with him. I'll make sure you're not the forgotten man and you help us. And we cut a deal. It was a good deal. He was like the grandfather that I didn't have a relationship.
So in 1982, you saw Andrew Bilo on King Crimson's Beat Tour in 1982. What impact did it have on your vision for the guitar?
That's close to what happened. I made a deal with Adrian Belew to work on one of his guitars for his European tour. And when he told me exactly what to do, and I did exactly as he told me. I put my tremolo system on it, his pickups, his preamp, and when I plugged it into the amp, I couldn't believe the sound that was coming out of that amplifier. I thought it was extraordinary, and I went, I got to have that. So it had an influence on, putting a different kinds of switching on the guitar, how the thing worked. And Adrian's been really decent to me my entire life. I like the man, and he's a gifted musician. Oh, my God. I got to see them on the Thrack tour as well, and that was at Merriweather Post Pavilion. That was really something.
So in 1975, you attended the Ted Nugent concert and went backstage. Can you share the rest of that story?
Sure. So Slade was there. Ted Nugent was there with about 5 bands playing. It was Heavy Metal Sunday. Leslie West, all kinds of people were playing. Blue Oyster Cult, Rush. And I knocked on the Slade door and they thought it was interesting, but they weren't that interested. And I showed the guitar I knocked on the door, said, I make guitars. And Derek St. Holmes, the singer, said, come on in. And he sat down and he played the guitar and he liked it. And Ted came in and he was bigger than life character at the time and just bigger than life. And he wanted to know if I could make him a solid body Birdland. When he was playing a hollow body Birdland. And I said, sure, I could do that. And that night, Derek St. Holmes played that guitar that I showed him on stage, and it was up on a Jumbotron. And they had just invented Jumbotrons. I'd never seen one before. And I looked up, and it was extraordinary to see a guitar that I had made on this screen. It was mind-boggling. Derek and I are still friends. We became friends. We're still friends. He's come to Annapolis and lived here and played in the band here. Derek was very sweet to me, and Ted was very interested in getting a solid body Birdland guitar. I'm not sure I did the best job making the guitar. It was too heavy. There were a lot of things about it I wish I had done better, but he was a decent human being to me at the time, and I appreciated it. So they let me have a chance. I was the kid screaming, give me a chance, give me a chance. I already went through that with you.
And you repeated the act again with Carlos Santana in 1980.
That happened.
Same story?
You want that? You want that story?
Of course we want the Carlos Santana story.
All right, so I'm at the Capitol Center, which is, near where Redskins Stadium is. And I was there at 12:30, and I had a guitar case, and the semi-trucks pull up. And I literally, the truck driver got out of the car, and I went over and I opened the case and I showed him. There were no words spoken. And he looked over and he looks down at the case and he looks at me and he looks at the case. He goes, He goes up in the truck and he grabs a stage pass out of the truck and he puts it on me and he said, you wait around for Carlos. So he introduces me to the guitar tech. 3:30. Now it's 12:30. I've waited around 3 hours, 3:30. And the guy said, well, maybe Carlos will like this. I don't know. So Carlos comes in. They're doing sound check. And he leans over the guitar, looks at it, he goes, it looks like a piece of candy because it was red. He wasn't very interested. So about half an hour later, I said, aren't you interested in playing the guitar? He goes, maybe. So we go in the back room and he plugs it in. And he really likes it. Not a little bit, a lot. And he looks at me and he plays the guitar and he looks at me and he plays the guitar. He says, you play? I backed up against the wall, scared to death. And he's playing the guitar. And he keeps playing. He goes, you play, let's play. And he makes me play with him. It did not go well. I was too scared. And then he goes, okay. And he obviously frightened the shit out of me. And he puts his arm around me and takes me up on the stage, and we watched Return to Forever play. Stanley Clarke, Al Di Meola, Chick Corea, and Lenny White. And they are playing Romantic Warrior. And Carlos is standing behind the keyboard player, dancing the whole time. We're dancing to the whole thing. We finish. And that was it. It was over. Fast forward 2 more years, I go to Merriweather Post Pavilion and I show the roadie the guitar, different tech. And I said, would you show it to Carlos? And he goes, aren't you afraid I'm going to steal it? I went, no, you're not going to steal the guitar. I mean, I'm thinking it's the only chance I have in my life to do this. I don't care if he steals it or not. He takes it in the back room and I'm just standing out there waiting. And somebody comes out the door and looks at me and goes like this. And I go in and there's a picture of Jesus burning incense and Carlos over in the corner burning the house down. Every note's feeding back. Did he like that guitar? Oh my God, he's going nuts. So he says, I want to order a guitar. He decides what he wants to order. He gives me his phone number, gives me his name. He says, but I want to play it on stage tonight to make sure it's okay. So about the third song, the guitar comes out. It goes on him. He plays 5 notes. He waves his arm. He waves it off. He puts it away. And the set goes on for the rest of the night. At which point, I walk up to him and said, "What happened?" He goes, "It didn't sound good to my rig. Deal's off." And I went, now he knows I have his phone number in my pocket. And he goes, and he has the grace not to ask for it back. And I said, "Carlos, it's the pickups. It's not the guitar." He goes, "No, no, no. Deal's off. Deal's off." I said, "Let me send you some pickups." "No, no, no. Deal's off." I said, "Just let me send you some pickups. If you like them, we could talk about it again." He goes, reluctantly, he goes, "Okay." So I call Howard Leese and I said, "I need the guitar I made you. I need you to lend it to Carlos." He goes, "Sure. Carlos is a great player. I'd love to lend him the guitar." So he puts it in a flight case and he ships it to the studio where they're recording Z-Bop, and it arrives in a flight case with a 4-number combination lock on it, and they don't send the combination. There's no such thing as cell phones, and Howard Leese goes on vacation. So I can't reach him. And Carlos, from what I understand, was pissed that he couldn't get in the case. He knew there was something in that case he wanted. So let me turn this off. Hold on a second. So he's pissed. The roadie swears to God in a dream that night the number came to him, goes in the next morning, opens it up, pulls the guitar out of the case, and he uses it for all the solos on Z-Bop. At which point I get a phone call, guitar's not coming back, deal's over. And I said, "Let me call Howard." And I got permission from Howard to lend him the guitar for a month while I made him another one. And Carlos says, "Well, if you're going to make me another one, I want one with 2 pickups." So I made the guitar. It sounded magic when it was done. Seymour Duncan helped me with the pickups. All these people sent the parts. I put the guitar in a case and shipped it out. And Federal Express had just started. And I didn't hear back for 3 days. And I finally called. I said, "What happened?" The roadie says, "Well, I'm not quite sure, but he's willing to give the first one back." And we were off to the races. He thought it was an accident of God. He didn't think it was going to happen again. I made him another one. He told me it was an accident of God. I made him a third one. He didn't say much about that one. Made him a double neck. He calls me up. He goes, "You're a guitar maker." In other words, you had to earn my respect. I wasn't going to give it to you. That was very cool. That was a very cool experience. Thank God. Bless. And he said to me once, he goes, "If Mr. Green Jeans shows you the best thing you ever saw, are you going to ignore it because it's Mr. Green Jeans from Captain Kangaroo?" And I didn't really understand the comment, but I think he was talking about me. I was Mr. Green Jeans in the side room showing him something, and he really liked it.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Carlos has been unbelievably appreciative. He's been a complete mensch. He's been great.
Well, thank you for sharing it. So let's talk about where the business is today. How many guitars are being manufactured in Stevensville?
110 a day, and 200 a day coming out of Indonesia.
And how did you fare during the coronavirus? Was that helpful, or was that a negative?
The governor shut us down for 2.5 months, and that was scary. But we were finally able to reopen, and our order book doubled. We have a 1.5-year back order. We were kind of the drug of COVID, because if you sat on a couch with a guitar you loved, you were in no pain and there was no hangover, and it gave people something to do while they were stuck in their houses. Go figure. It could have gone the other way. It could have been bad, but it decided to be good for reasons I honor. Don't really completely understand it, although I have a fairly good handle on it. I mean, if you were in the restaurant business or the band business, you were done.
And can you share there's some recent developments in terms of your technology? For example, your pickup building and design, some of your artist collaborations, the SE series. Yeah, sort of bring us up to date on some of your advancements.
Well, the S2 series are guitars we make here for 2/5 the price, or half the price. The pickups we work on every day. That's a black art form, beautiful art form. We're getting better at it every day. The pickups in this guitar I really like the sound of. You're asking a complex question. We have a meeting every day where there's 30 things on the list, and we're hitting about 6 of them a day, and we're trying to update things as fast as we can. This company does not lay down on its laurels. It's working every day to make tools that are better and better and better for musicians. The guitars that we make are very similar to what we made in 1985, 1988, but the pieces on them, the bridges, the tuning pegs, the nuts, the pickups, all that stuff, we're constantly modifying. I think it's going well. I think that the back order says that the world wants what we have. I think it's going very well. As far as the technology on, the side that my father and I worked on, we started a company called Digital Harmonic, and we've invented a machine for measuring cellular vibrations, which is fun. I did that because some of the people in my family got sick. I didn't want to stand on the sidelines and do nothing, and I was friends with the people at Hopkins who could advise me about how to make the machine.
So you're becoming known as a mentor and a teacher now, as a guitar builder for the employees of PRS and as a guitar player at your online school. How's that going?
The online school, the music school, is tremendous. Most of the feedback is very positive, although we have had plenty of people say it's not. They want it to be taught like the way School of Rock teaches guitar, which is a fine way to teach guitar, but we teach much more about rhythm or harmony or melody. And we try to put the three pieces together. It's the way musicians teach each other. It's not the way music schools teach kids, but adults as well. We're trying to teach harmony in a way that's understandable, teach melody in a way that's understandable, and teach rhythm in a way that's understandable. Dennis Chambers, Gary Granger, Greg Granger, all these people have joined to help us. John McLaughlin, one of our geniuses in our business, taught last year. Bill Evans taught last year. There's talk of some very, very high-level musicians joining our team this year. I think the most impressive part about it was that we were going to give it up, and when COVID happened, there was a meeting on the phone. Everybody decided not to let go. We decided to do it online, and that's when Tyler Larson and Tim Pierce, the online guitar famous teachers, decided to help us, and they've been involved as well. I can't really pay them what they're worth, so I give them old pieces of gear that they love. I don't know what else to do, You got to give people stuff they love, otherwise they're not going to do it. Although they'd probably do it if I just asked, but I don't think that's fair. Their skill level is so high. But we're teaching melody, rhythm, and harmony separately and trying to put it together. It's a little different. The teaching here at work about the guitar making, we had a meeting the other day, and I don't think that I have explained the way I think about guitar making well enough. I'm trying to improve it. I'll give you an example. Most of the wood that you buy is case hardened. It's wetter in the middle of the block of wood than it is on the outside. And I've done everything in my career to make the middle of the wood the same water content as the outside. It's not so easy to do. So we had a long talk about just making sure the wood's not case hardened. You open the middle of the wood up to make a neck, and the neck doesn't warp because it lost all this water. You don't really want the guitar to release all this internal water. When you open it up, the neck will warp. So case hardening, which is not a term that's used very much in guitar making, is incredibly important to prevent. So instead of it being harder on the outside and softer in the middle, it's wetter on the inside and drier on the outside. I don't know. Guitar making is a very complex, jack of all trades kind of thing. I've become the furniture repairman for my wife because guitar repair and furniture repair are very close.
So is there any part of your personal story or the PRS story that you'd like to share with us that you haven't shared with us? I'm sure that you've got tons of other stories. Is there another one that you would like to share with us that we didn't highlight?
Nothing makes me light up like really good music and really good friends. Nothing. Family, really good friends, and really good music makes me light up like a Christmas tree. If the night is going well, March 10th, you won't be able to get a smile off my face. I'm sorry. It's heaven on earth. It's just Heaven on earth. A really good band is like a motorcycle gang. You do not want to mess with them. They'll take your head off. A really good band walks into an arena and they'll take your head off. It's like a good football team. It's like Ray Lewis screaming, "This is my house," right? So for me, being around family, being around really good friends, and being around really good music, there's nothing better. I just don't see much better. I've seen some places on earth that are extraordinary. I mean, it's not well known, but there's a river in Maryland that when you canoe down, looks like Montana. There's places in this state that are unbelievable. There's the rumor is there's more shoreline in Maryland than any other state in the union. More than Alaska, more than California, more than Florida. And you think about all the estuaries around the Chesapeake Bay, they might be right. I've never measured it. I don't really know. But, I mean, the other day I'm going across the Bay Bridge and a pelican flew by. I'm like, what? A pelican on the Bay Bridge? And I read there's 2,200 nesting pairs in the bay. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I was driving across the Bay Bridge one day. I saw a bull shark tearing a school of fish up. I'm like, what is going on? This is a fascinating place to live. There's so many backwater areas to bat around and streams and rivers. And the other day I went bird watching because my mother was a bird watcher, and I went to Greenberry Point. I didn't find a bird, but I found a active hornet's nest the size of, the thing was huge. It was immense. I'm like, I know they exist. I see hornets, but I never saw an active nest. Oh my God. I don't really want to hit it with a rock. Not a good idea. The other day I was in my backyard and I saw what I thought was an immature bald or golden eagle in the backyard. I said, Paige, my wife, Paige, look at that thing. I think that's an eagle in the backyard. So I said, let me find out what it is. I went in the backyard, waved my arms, and this huge great horned owl took off. That was unbelievable. I mean, we're in Maryland. We have river otters in the state. We have all kinds of cool stuff in this. This is a good place to live. We live in a good area. Wrong place to make guitars because the humidity goes up to 100% and down to zero, and the temperature goes up to 100 degrees down to zero. So we have to be humidity controlled.
And so where's PRS Guitars in 10 years?
Alive and well. That's the only goal I have, that these employees have a stable place that they can grow and be good at what they're good at. I want this place alive and well. I'm 66. I think I'll still be here at 76. I'm not sure I'll be here at 83. I want to travel. I want to travel before I'm 85. So, I don't know. I hope alive and well. Is that a good answer?
It's a great answer. So, Paul, I want to thank you for your time. I expected this to be a fun interview, and it was. Thank you for sharing your stories. I'm sure you've got lots of other stories that one day will go beyond the Carlos Santana story.
You're welcome.